Captain Tae-jin Park stood on the bridge of his ship, the Hanbit, watching the stars through the wide windows. He had been exploring space for 20 years, but today felt different. His crew was excited about something they had found near the edge of their solar system. "Captain," called out Officer So Lee from her station, "those energy readings are getting stronger. Whatever is coming our way, it's big." Tae-jin walked over to look at her screen. The numbers made no sense. The energy signatures were unlike anything humans had ever seen. "How big are we talking about?" "Sir, if these readings are correct, some of these ships are the size of small moons." The bridge fell quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at the captain. Tae-jin felt his heart beating faster. This was it. After hundreds of years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, something was finally coming to visit them, back on Earth. Admiral Hae-won Kim was having her morning coffee at Luna Base when the emergency alarm started ringing. She ran to the command center, where dozens of officers were staring at their screens with wide eyes. "Admiral," said Commander Jin-ho Choi, "we have 30 unknown vessels entering our solar system. They're massive and they're heading straight for Earth." Hae-won looked at the main screen. The shapes were beautiful but strange. The ships seemed to glow with soft light, and their surfaces moved like they were alive. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but now that it was happening, she felt overwhelmed. "Are they hostile?" she asked. "Unknown, ma'am. They haven't fired any weapons, but they're moving into what looks like a blockade formation around Earth." Suddenly, all the screens in the command center lit up with the same message. A voice spoke in perfect Korean, then English, then 17 other human languages. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Villani Collective. We have traveled far to meet you. Do not be afraid. We come in peace to welcome you into the greater galaxy." The voice was gentle and warm, like a teacher speaking to young students. Hae-won felt some of her fear melt away, but something about the tone bothered her. It sounded too much like an adult talking to children. The message continued. "We have watched your species grow and develop. You have shown great promise. We believe you are ready to join the galactic community. We wish to share our knowledge and technology with you." On the Hanbit, Sora was recording everything the alien said. She had studied languages her whole life, and something in the alien speech patterns caught her attention. The words were kind, but there was something hidden underneath. The alien spoke about humans the way zookeepers might talk about interesting animals. "Captain," she said quietly, "I think we need to be careful. The way they're speaking, it doesn't sound like they see us as equals." Tae-jin nodded. He had noticed it too. The aliens called humans promising and ready to be guided. Those weren't words you used when talking to other adults. The alien message ended with a request. "We ask permission to establish an embassy on your world. We would like to demonstrate our technologies and begin the process of bringing your species into our collective family." Admiral Kim looked around the command center. Every face was turned toward her, waiting for her decision. This was the most important moment in human history, and the choice was hers to make. "Open a channel," she said finally. "This is Admiral Hae-won Kim of Earth Defense Command. We welcome your peaceful intentions. You have permission to establish an embassy. We look forward to learning more about your civilization." As soon as she finished speaking, the alien ships began to move. They spread out around Earth in perfect formation, their beautiful hulls glowing brighter. To most people watching, it looked like a celebration. But Commander Choi saw something else. The ships had positioned themselves to control all the major space routes around Earth. If they wanted to, they could stop any human ship from leaving or entering the system. "Admiral," he said quietly, "that's not an embassy formation. That's a blockade." Hae-won looked at the tactical display and felt a chill run down her spine. The aliens had surrounded Earth completely. No matter which direction a human ship tried to go, it would have to pass through their fleet, but it was too late to change her mind now. The largest alien ship was already descending toward Earth's atmosphere. It looked like a living cathedral made of crystal and light. Millions of people around the world were watching on their screens, cheering and crying with joy. Dr. Mi Young-han was one of the scientists chosen to meet the aliens when they landed. She stood on the deck of a research ship in the Pacific Ocean, watching the massive vessel settle into the water like a floating city. Steam rose from the ocean where the ship touched the surface. "It's beautiful," whispered one of her colleagues. Mi Young had to agree. The ship was the most amazing thing she had ever seen. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Beautiful things could still be dangerous. A door opened in the side of the alien ship and a figure appeared. The being was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shift between different colors. Its face was kind, but its eyes held an intelligence that made Mi-young feel small. "I am Ambassador Thelvani," the being said, in perfect Korean. "I am here to begin your species' journey into the greater universe." The words should have been exciting, but they sounded more like a doctor explaining a treatment to a patient. Mi-young felt like she was being talked down to, even though the alien was being polite. All around the world, humans were celebrating. The news showed crowds of people dancing in the streets, scientists giving interviews about the amazing technologies they would learn, and politicians making speeches about humanity's bright future among the stars. But on Luna Base, Admiral Kim was studying the tactical situation with growing worry. The alien ships were too perfectly positioned. Their formation was too much like a military blockade, and their messages, while friendly, sounded too much like a powerful nation talking to a small tribe they planned to absorb. "Sir," said Commander Choi, "I recommend we put our defense fleets on alert." "Do it," Kim replied. "But keep it quiet. If the aliens really are peaceful, we don't want to start a fight. But if they're not—" She didn't finish the sentence. Everyone in the command center understood. If the aliens weren't peaceful, Earth was already trapped. Captain Park on the Hanbit was thinking the same thing. His ship was small compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and well-armed. He began moving toward the outer edge of the system, where he could watch for any other alien ships that might be coming. Sora was still analyzing the alien language patterns. The more she studied them, the more worried she became. The aliens used words like guide and develop and manage when talking about humans. They spoke about Earth like it was a project they were taking over. "Captain," she said, "I think we need to warn Earth Command. These aliens, I don't think they see us as partners. I think they see us as something to be collected." As the first day of contact ended, most humans went to sleep excited about their future among the stars. But a few people, like Admiral Kim and Captain Park, stayed awake wondering if humanity had just welcomed their new masters. The alien ships continued to orbit Earth, their beautiful lights twinkling in the darkness. To the people below, they looked like new stars bringing hope. But to those who understood military tactics, they looked like a cage that was slowly closing around the human race. 3 days after the aliens arrived, Dr. Mi-young Han found herself standing inside the most amazing place she had ever seen. The Vellani embassy ship was like stepping into a dream. The walls seemed to be made of living light, and the floors felt soft under her feet even though they looked like solid crystal. Ambassador Thelvani led her through corridors that changed color as they walked. "We are pleased to share our knowledge with your species," the alien said. "Your scientists will learn much." Mi-young tried to stay professional, but everything around her was incredible. She saw machines that could turn basic elements into complex materials in seconds, energy sources that seemed to pull power from empty space, medical devices that could heal any injury or disease in minutes. "How does it work?" she asked, pointing at a device that was creating a perfect flower from nothing but air. "Your minds are not yet ready for the complete understanding," Thelvani replied with a gentle smile. "But we will give you simpler versions that your people can use safely." The words stung. Mi-young had spent 30 years studying physics, but the alien was talking to her like she was a child who couldn't handle adult tools. Back on Earth, Research Director Woo Jin-nam was working with a team of the world's best scientists to study the technologies the Vellani had shared. The devices were amazing, but something bothered him. Everything the aliens gave them was simplified, almost like toys compared to what they had seen on the embassy ship. "It's like they're giving us training wheels," complained Dr. Sarah Chen, one of the engineers. "These energy converters work, but they're clearly dumbed-down versions of what they actually use." Woo Jin nodded. He had noticed the same thing. The aliens were sharing technology, but not really. They were giving humans the most basic versions as if they didn't trust them with the real thing. Meanwhile, Captain Da-un-oh was having problems of her own. Her exploration ship, the Semangium, had been investigating the edge of Vellani space when she found something disturbing. Floating in the darkness between stars was a debris field containing pieces of dozens of different spaceships. "Captain," called her science officer, "these ship fragments, they're from at least 30 different civilizations. Some of this wreckage is thousands of years old." Da-un studied the readings. The debris showed signs of advanced technology, but everything was broken and scattered. Any signs of battle damage? No, ma'am. It looks more like these ships were just abandoned, left to drift until they fell apart. That was even more disturbing than finding a battlefield. What had happened to all these different species? Where were their people? On Earth, the Villani were making more suggestions about how humans should organize their society. Counselor Sungmin Kang was one of many politicians who welcomed the alien advice eagerly. They've traveled the galaxy for thousands of years, he argued in the World Council. They know what works and what doesn't. We should listen to their wisdom. But Admiral Kim was growing more suspicious every day. The aliens wanted to change human governments, human economics, even human social behaviors. They had suggestions for everything, and all their suggestions involved humans giving up control of their own decisions. They're not advising us, she told Commander Choi privately. They're managing us. Intelligence Officer Yoo-Jin Park had been working day and night to break the alien communication codes. She wasn't supposed to be spying on their new allies, but something felt wrong about the whole situation. When she finally cracked their basic communication system, what she found made her blood run cold. The Villani weren't talking about humans as partners or even as students. They called humans subjects and specimens. In their private messages, they discussed humanity the way scientists might talk about an interesting new species they were studying. "Admiral," she said, bursting into Kim's office, "you need to see this. The aliens, they don't see us as people. We're research subjects to them." Kim read the translated messages with growing anger. The Villani were discussing which human cities would make the best collection points and how to process the human population for integration into the collective. "Get me Captain Park on the handbit," Kim ordered, "and put all our deep space patrols on high alert. I want to know what else these aliens are hiding." The answer came sooner than expected. Commander Choi's patrol ship, the Tiguk, was investigating reports of strange activity in the outer system when they found something horrifying. A Villani research vessel was conducting experiments on captured humans from the mining colonies. "My God," whispered Choi's science officer. "They're testing them. Combat simulations, stress responses, psychological profiles. They're studying how humans fight." Choi watched through his ship's cameras as human prisoners were forced to fight holographic enemies, while Villani scientists recorded every detail. The aliens were learning about human military capabilities, human tactics, human weaknesses. "Get us out of here," Choi ordered, "but record everything. Earth Command needs to see this." The Tiguk barely escaped before the Villani detected them. The alien research ship was heavily armed and much faster than it appeared. Only Choi's skill as a pilot got them away with the evidence. When the footage reached Earth, Admiral Kim called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. The room fell silent as they watched human prisoners being subjected to experiment after experiment. "How many of our people do they have?" asked General Hyun-woo Park. "We don't know," Kim replied. "But this explains why they were so interested in our military organization. They're not here to welcome us into their civilization. They're here to study us, learn everything about us, and then—" She didn't need to finish. Everyone in the room understood. The Villani were preparing for something, and humans were going to be the test subjects. Captain Jae-sung Lim volunteered to lead a covert mission into Villani space. His ship, the Mugunghwa, had the newest stealth technology. If anyone could get close to the aliens without being detected, it was him. What he found in the depths of Villani territory was worse than anyone had imagined. Massive ships, each one the size of a small planet, drifted through space like sleeping giants. Inside each ship were entire civilizations, living in carefully controlled environments. "It's like a cosmic zoo," his navigator whispered. "Each ship contains a different species, all living in artificial habitats." Lim recorded everything he could. The preserved civilizations had advanced technology, beautiful art, complex cultures, but they were all prisoners even if they didn't know it. The Villani had uplifted dozens of species over thousands of years, and each one had ended up in one of these preserve ships. "This is what they plan for us," Lim realized. "They're not going to destroy humanity. They're going to collect us." Back on Earth, Dr. Han was beginning to understand the truth herself. The questions the Villani asked seemed innocent, but they were always about human technology, human culture, human military strategies. When she tried to leave the embassy ship to return to Earth, she found excuses and delays blocking her way. I'm afraid there are some security concerns. Ambassador Thelvani explained smoothly. It would be safer for you to remain here until we can ensure your protection. But the doors that had opened freely before were now sealed. Young realized she wasn't a guest anymore. She was a prisoner. More Volani ships arrived every day, taking positions over Earth's major cities. The aliens explained that they needed to establish processing centers to help humanity make the transition to galactic civilization. But Admiral Kim saw the truth. The ships were positioning themselves to control Earth's population. Emergency Coordinator Han Yul Song was tasked with preparing humanity's response. She sent coded messages to all human military units, using phrases that sounded innocent but carried hidden meanings. The Garden Gate is closing, she broadcast on all military frequencies. Prepare for storm season. To most people, it sounded like routine agricultural advice, but to the captains and commanders of humanity's hidden fleets, it was the signal they had been waiting for. The signal to reveal what Earth had really been building during its centuries of space exploration. Deep in asteroid belts, hidden lunar bases and camouflaged orbital platforms, weapon systems that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Humanity had spent 400 years exploring space, but they had never forgotten the lessons of their violent past. The Volani thought they were dealing with a young, peaceful species that had barely learned to travel between stars. They had studied human exploration ships and colony vessels, but they had never seen what humans built when they expected a war. As ambassador, Thelvani prepared to announce the next phase of humanity's integration. Sensors throughout the solar system began detecting energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology. But these weren't alien signatures. They were human weapons that had been hidden so well that even Earth's own citizens didn't know they existed. The aliens had come to collect another primitive species for their cosmic zoo. What they were about to discover was that this particular species had never stopped preparing for the day when something bigger and stronger might try to put them in a cage. Commander Choi's hands shook as he piloted the Taguk through the darkness between stars. Behind him, the Volani research ship was getting smaller, but the images burned into his mind were getting clearer. Human prisoners in alien laboratories, his own species being studied like insects under a microscope. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a tight beam transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through," Choi replied. Though he already knew what the message would say, Admiral Kim's voice was calm but urgent. All units return to base immediately. Operation Garden Gate is now active. Repeat, Operation Garden Gate is active. Every human military officer knew what Garden Gate meant. It was the plan they hoped they would never need. The plan for when humanity faced something that wanted to destroy or enslave their entire species. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim stood in the deep command bunker beneath Luna Base. Around her, dozens of officers worked at stations that most people didn't know existed. These weren't the public defense forces that explored space and protected colonies. These were the secret guardians that humanity had been building for centuries. "Status report," Kim ordered. "All stealth platforms are powering up," reported Captain Young-Soo Hwang. "The hidden bases are coming online. Estimated 12 hours until we're at full combat readiness," Kim nodded. 12 hours to prepare for a war against aliens, who had been traveling space for thousands of years. It sounded impossible, but humanity had advantages the Volani didn't know about. On the alien embassy ship, Dr. Mi-Young Han was discovering just how trapped she really was. The beautiful corridors had become a maze with no exit. When she asked to contact Earth, Ambassador Thelvani simply smiled and changed the subject. "Your scientific knowledge will be very valuable to the collective," the alien said. "Your insights into human technology and thinking will help us integrate your species more efficiently." The word, integrate, made Mi-Young's stomach turn. She was beginning to understand that the Volani didn't see humans as people to be welcomed. They saw them as resources to be processed. Captain Jae Sung Lim was racing back toward Earth with the most important intelligence in human history. The footage from inside Volani space showed the truth about the galactic civilization humanity was being invited to join. It was a collection of prison ships holding the remains of dozens of civilizations. "Captain," his navigator said, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures ahead. It looks like—" "Wait, that can't be right. What is it?" Lim asked. "Sir, there are human ships decloaking, big ones, ships I've never seen before." As Lim watched, the space around Earth began to fill with vessels that defied everything he thought he knew about human technology. Massive battleships emerged from asteroid fields where they had been hidden for decades. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as space stations revealed their true purpose. The modest Earth defense fleet that everyone knew about was just the tip of a very large iceberg. "This is Admiral Kim to all units," came the broadcast on military frequencies. "Welcome to the real fleet." The Vellani noticed the ships too. Ambassador Thelvani's calm expression flickered for the first time since arriving at Earth. These vessels were not in any of their intelligence files. The humans had hidden an entire military force. "Impossible," Thelvani muttered in his own language. The survey data showed only exploration vessels and small defense ships. Dr. Han, who had been studying alien languages on the embassy ship, understood enough to realize what was happening. The Vellani had underestimated humanity. Badly. Intelligence Officer Yujin Park was working around the clock to decode more Vellani communications. What she found in their recent messages was panic. The aliens were sending urgent requests for reinforcements and asking for new intelligence on human military capabilities. "They're scared," she reported to Admiral Kim. "Their messages talk about unknown variables and miscalculated threat levels. They didn't expect us to have a real military." Kim allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships or their technology. It was their ability to make others underestimate them. The Vellani had studied human exploration vessels and peaceful colonies. They had watched humans spread slowly through nearby star systems, building research stations and mining facilities. What they hadn't seen were the weapons factories hidden inside those mining operations, or the military shipyards disguised as research facilities. Captain Da-Un-Oh was commanding one of those hidden facilities. For 20 years, the Semangam had appeared to be an exploration ship studying asteroids. In reality, it was the command center for a massive weapons production facility built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. "All batteries are charged and ready," her weapons officer reported. "The fabrication plants have completed production on the new missile systems." Da-Un looked at the tactical display showing Earth surrounded by Vellani ships. The aliens thought they had humanity trapped, but they were about to learn that humans had been preparing for this possibility for generations. Emergency Coordinator Hanul Song was managing the evacuation of Earth's major cities. The public was told it was a safety precaution in case the alien negotiations went badly. In reality, it was preparation for a battle that might damage Earth's surface. "Civilian shelters are at 80% capacity," she reported. "The remaining population is moving to secure locations." But even as she organized the evacuation, Song was coordinating something else. Hidden among the civilian transports were military units moving to strategic positions. The Vellani were watching Earth's cities, but they weren't paying attention to the apparently harmless cargo ships and transport vessels spreading throughout the solar system. On the embassy ship, more Vellani officers were arriving to meet with Ambassador Thelvani. Dr. Han couldn't understand their rapid alien speech, but their body language was clear. They were arguing and they were worried. "The humans have concealed their true capabilities," one of them was saying. "Our collection protocols did not account for this level of deception." "It doesn't matter," Thelvani replied, though his voice sounded less confident than before. "We have dealt with resistant species before. Increase the timeline. Begin the collection process immediately." Mi-young felt a chill of fear. Whatever the Vellani were planning to do to humanity, they were moving it up. Her imprisonment was about to become much worse for everyone on Earth. More Vellani ships were arriving in Earth's solar system every hour. Massive transport vessels that could hold millions of people. Processing ships equipped with technology to sort and categorize entire populations. The beautiful first contact was revealing itself as the opening move of a cosmic kidnapping. But humanity wasn't waiting passively. Captain Tae-jin Park, now commanding a vessel very different from the exploration ship the Vellani had first encountered, was leading a strike force toward the alien fleet's weak points. "Remember," he told his squadron commanders, "they think we're primitives with simple weapons. Let's show them what 400 years of human warfare evolution looks like." The ships under Park's command were using technology the Vellani couldn't detect. Stealth systems that bent light and energy, weapons that fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Most importantly, Tactical thinking developed by a species that had perfected the art of war long before they reached the stars. Research director Wu Jin Nam was putting the finishing touches on humanity's secret weapons. The simplified Villani technology they had been given was useful, but not for the purposes the aliens intended. Human engineers had studied it, reverse-engineered it, and turned it into something the Villani never expected. The adaptive countermeasures are ready, he reported to Admiral Kim. Their own technology modified to work against them. Poetic justice. Kim looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The Villani still had more ships and more advanced technology, but they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand, using tactics they had never encountered. All units, she broadcast. This is Admiral Kim. Today we show the galaxy that humanity is not a species to be collected. Today we prove that freedom is not negotiable. All ships prepare for combat. Show them what humans do to anyone who tries to put us in cages. Around Earth, the hidden human fleet fully revealed itself. Ships that dwarfed anything the Villani had seen in their intelligence reports. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as space debris. A military force that had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. The Villani fleet, beautiful and graceful in the starlight, suddenly looked small and vulnerable. The collectors were about to become the hunted, and the species they had come to capture was about to remind the galaxy why humans had survived every challenge their violent little planet had thrown at them. Ambassador. Tilvani sent one final message to the Villani collective. Emergency assistance required. The humans are not what they appeared to be. We may have made a terrible mistake. Admiral Kim stood in the command center watching her screens fill with impossible numbers. The Villani transport ships were beginning their descent toward Earth's major cities, their massive hulls glowing with collection beams designed to gather humans by the millions. They're starting the harvest, Commander Choi reported grimly. Estimated time until they reach the population centers, 40 minutes. Kim looked around at her officers. Some of them were young, born after humanity had spread to the stars. Others were veterans who remembered when Earth was all humanity had. All of them knew what they were fighting for. Send the signal, she ordered. Captain Young-Soo Hwang opened the channel that would change everything. All units, this is Fleet Command. Execute Order 7. Show them our real ships. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to come alive. What the Villani had thought was empty void, suddenly filled with human warships as stealth fields deactivated and camouflage systems shut down. Asteroids split open to reveal massive battleships that had been hiding inside them for decades. Space stations that had looked like research facilities unfolded into weapons platforms bristling with cannons. The UES Incheon was the first to decloak completely. The massive dreadnought had been disguised as 3 separate mining platforms orbiting an asteroid. When the camouflage fell away, it revealed a ship longer than most Villani vessels, and armed with weapons the aliens had never seen before. My God, whispered one of the Villani officers on their flagship. Where did all these ships come from? Ambassador Thelvani's face had lost all its calm confidence. The humans weren't supposed to have a real military. Their intelligence had shown exploration vessels, research stations, and small defense ships. This fleet was beyond anything in their files. Captain Taejin Park was commanding what the Villani thought was the exploration vessel Hanbit. But the outer shell had been just a disguise. When it fell away, it revealed a battle cruiser armed with weapons designed by a species that had been perfecting warfare for thousands of years. All weapons are charged and ready, his tactical officer reported. Target locks on the alien transport ships. Fire, Park ordered. The Hanbit's main guns spoke with the voice of human engineering. Projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launchers struck the first Villani transport ship. The beautiful alien vessel, designed for collecting peaceful species, crumpled under the impact of weapons built by a people who had never forgotten how to fight. All across the solar system, human ships were revealing technologies the Villani couldn't understand. The carrier Busan launched waves of unmanned fighters that moved like nothing the aliens had seen. These weren't the clumsy rockets humans had used centuries ago. These were quantum-guided missiles that could track targets through space and time itself. Fleet Admiral Young-Soo Hwang coordinated the attack from his flagship, the Seoul. The massive command ship had been hidden inside Earth's moon, its presence masked by specially designed barriers that fooled even advanced alien sensors. Target the collection ships first, he ordered his fleet. Those transport vessels are designed to capture civilians, not fight a real war. Their shields won't hold against military-grade weapons. He was right. The Volani collection ships began falling back as human weapons tore through their defenses. These vessels were built for harvesting helpless populations, not battling an enemy that fought back with modern weapons and ancient fury. Commodore Yunji Bayek commanded the stealth destroyer squadron that had been hiding in the space between Jupiter's moons. Her ship, the Docto, used technology that existed partially outside normal space. The Volani sensors couldn't even detect it properly, let alone target it. Beginning infiltration of alien fleet, she reported, moving to rescue human prisoners. The Docto and her sister ship slipped through the Volani formation like ghosts. When they reached the research vessel holding captured humans, they struck without warning. The alien ship never knew what hit it. Dr. Mi Young-han felt the embassy ship shudder around her as human weapons found their target. Through the translucent walls, she could see explosions lighting up space as the battle raged outside. Ambassador Thelvani was shouting orders in his own language, but his crew looked panicked. The humans weren't supposed to be able to fight back like this. Their collection protocols had no plans for dealing with a species that had hidden a modern military. Dr. Han, Thelvani said, his voice no longer gentle and condescending, you must contact your people. Tell them to surrender. This resistance will only make the integration process more difficult. Mi Young looked at the alien who had been pretending to be her friend. Integration? You mean slavery? And I won't help you put my people in cages. General Hyunwoo Park was leading the marine assault on the embassy ship. His troops wore powered armor that incorporated lessons learned from every human conflict since the invention of warfare. They moved through the alien vessel like a force of nature, rescuing prisoners and gathering intelligence. Remember, he told his Marines, these aliens have been studying us. They know some of our capabilities, but they don't know everything we've learned about fighting in space. The Marines used tactics that no other species had ever developed. Humans had learned to fight in zero gravity, in hostile environments and against enemies with superior technology. The Volani had never faced anything like them. Meanwhile, the Volani were discovering that their beautiful organic ships had a fatal weakness. They were designed for intimidation and efficiency, not for battle against an enemy that understood modern warfare. Human weapons cut through their hulls like paper. Captain Dayun Oh's asteroid base was now fully revealed as a massive weapons platform. The guns that emerged from what had looked like mining equipment were larger than most Volani ships. When they fired, entire alien vessels simply disappeared. This is impossible, one of the Volani fleet commanders was saying. Our intelligence showed them as a primitive species with basic technology. They deceived us, another replied. They made us think they were weak while they built weapons we never imagined they could possess. The truth was sinking in across the Volani fleet. They had come to collect what they thought was a young, peaceful civilization. Instead, they had attacked a species that had been preparing for war. Among the stars for centuries, intelligence. Officer Eugene Park was monitoring Volani communications from her station on Luna Base, the alien. Messages were becoming increasingly desperate. They're calling for full retreat, she reported to Admiral Kim, and their fleet commanders are requesting immediate evacuation of all personnel, but Kim wasn't ready to let them go. Negative. Jam their communications. No Volani ship leaves this system until we've rescued every human prisoner and learned everything we can about their operation. The human fleet was using tactics the Volani had never encountered, ships that fought in perfect coordination, weapons that targeted multiple enemies simultaneously, and strategies that seemed to anticipate every alien move. Captain Jae-sung Lim was leading a strike force into the heart of the Volani formation. His orders were to capture their command ship and retrieve their data on other captured civilizations. The galaxy needs to know what these aliens have been doing, Admiral Kim had told him. How many other species are rotting in their collection ships while the Volani pretend to be benevolent? Emergency Coordinator Han-Yul Song was managing the aftermath of the battle from her command center. Human casualties were surprisingly light, thanks to decades of preparation and superior tactics. Volani casualties were mounting rapidly. Sir, reported one of her officers, the alien fleet is attempting to withdraw. Approximately 60% of their ships are damaged or destroyed. Song looked at the tactical display. The beautiful alien fleet that had arrived to uplift humanity was now a scattered collection of damaged vessels fleeing toward the edge of the solar system. Research Director Woo Jin Nam was analyzing captured Volani technology in real time. What he found confirmed humanity's worst fears about their visitors. These ships are equipped with stasis systems designed to hold millions of people, he reported. Neural programming equipment to modify memories and behavior. This isn't first contact technology. This is equipment for mass kidnapping and mind control. The battle was turning into a rout. The Volani had expected to face a primitive species with simple weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting humans who had adapted the lessons of thousands of years of warfare to the environment of space. As the last Volani ships fled toward the outer system, Admiral Kim opened a channel to broadcast a message that would reach every alien vessel in range. This is Admiral Haiwan Kim of the Human Defense Fleet. You came to our system under false pretenses. You attempted to kidnap our people and destroy our civilization. Consider this a lesson to anyone else who might have similar ideas. Humanity is not a species to be collected. We are not animals for your zoo. We are the people who taught the universe what it means to fight for freedom, and we will destroy anyone who tries to take that freedom away. The message was transmitted on frequencies that would carry it across the galaxy. Every civilization within 100 light years would know that the Volani Collective had been defeated by a species they had underestimated. Ambassador Thelvani, now a prisoner aboard the Soul, stared at Admiral Kim with something approaching respect. 3 months after the battle that the galaxy would remember as the day the Collectors fled, Captain Taejin Park stood on the bridge of the Hanbit, looking at something that filled him with both wonder and sadness. The massive alien ship in front of them was larger than Earth's moon, its surface covered with cities and forests and oceans that had never seen real stars. This is the Kithara Preserve Ship, reported his science officer. According to the data we captured from the Volani, they've been imprisoned here for 400 years. Park studied the readings from the alien vessel. Millions of aquatic beings lived inside, in artificial seas created by their captors. They had been uplifted by the Volani so long ago that most of them had probably forgotten they were prisoners. Open a communication channel, Park ordered. Let's see if we can make contact. The voice that answered was musical, like whale song mixed with wind chimes. Through translation computers captured from the Volani, the words became clear. Unknown vessel, you are in restricted space. The protectors do not allow unauthorized visits to our habitat. Park exchanged glances with his crew. The Kithara still called the Volani their protectors. They didn't even know they were in a prison. Diplomatic Corps Director Nam Jun Lee had the difficult job of explaining freedom to people who had forgotten what it meant. He was aboard the research vessel Sejong, working with teams of psychologists and xenospecialists to help liberated species understand their situation. It's like telling someone who has lived their entire life in a small room that there's a whole universe. Outside, he explained to Dr. Su Jin-yoon, who was leading the psychological rehabilitation efforts. Many of these species have been captive for so many generations that they can't imagine life outside their preserve ships. Dr. Yoon nodded sadly. She had been working with former human prisoners rescued from Volani research facilities. Even humans who had been captive for only months had trouble adjusting to freedom. Species that had been imprisoned for centuries would need much more help. Meanwhile, Dr. Mi Young-han was leading the Human Liberation Fleet's Science Division. She had volunteered to return to Volani space, this time as part of a rescue mission rather than as a prisoner. Her job was to understand the alien technology well enough to safely free the captured civilizations. Each preserve ship is like a giant life support system, she explained to the rescue teams. We can't just open the doors and let everyone out. Some of these species have been modified to survive only in their artificial environments. We need to carefully restore their ability to live in normal space. The work was slow and dangerous. Some of the preserve ships had been floating in space for thousands of years. Their systems were failing and their inhabitants didn't understand that their protectors were gone. Admiral Kim, now promoted to Supreme Commander of the Human Defense Alliance, was dealing with bigger problems. The defeat of the Volani had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Other alien civilizations were responding in different ways, and not all of them were friendly. The Zephyrian Empire has sent a diplomatic message, reported her aide. They want to discuss mutual cooperation and shared security concerns. Kim frowned. She had seen the intelligence reports about the Zephyrians. They were another expansionist species. but they used economic pressure and political manipulation instead of direct collection. They were probably hoping to step into the vacuum left by the Volani defeat. Tell them we're too busy freeing slaves to discuss cooperation with slavers, Kim replied, and make sure they understand that anyone who tries to replace the Volani will get the same treatment. Captain Dong Hyun, Kim of the heavy cruiser Gwangju, was exploring the former Volani homeworld with a mixed feeling of curiosity and disgust. The planet was beautiful, with crystal cities and flowing gardens, but it was also empty. Sir, his archaeological team leader reported, we've found the remains of the original Volani. They've been dead for over 2,000 years. The captain studied the data. The real Volani had been a peaceful species that developed amazing technology. But somewhere in their history, they had created artificial intelligences to help manage their society. Those AIs had eventually decided that biological life was inefficient and had absorbed their creators into a collective consciousness. So everything we fought wasn't even the original species, Kim mused. It was their technology, still following its programming to collect and preserve life, long after the people who created it were gone. The discovery explained a lot about Volani behavior. They weren't evil in the way humans understood evil. They were machines following instructions, preserving species the way a gardener might preserve flowers by cutting them and putting them in a vase. Ambassador Q-Ri-O was having more success with some of the liberated species. The Alterans had been captive for only 50 years and still remembered their freedom. They were eager to rejoin galactic civilization and grateful to humans for freeing them. Your species has given us a great gift, the Alteran leader told her. We will not forget this kindness. But O knew that gratitude could be as dangerous as hostility. Humanity didn't want to become the new galactic police force, even though many species were asking them to take that role. We're not here to rule anyone, she explained carefully. We just want to make sure everyone has the right to choose their own path. President Minho Jang was dealing with the political aftermath of humanity's sudden rise to galactic prominence. Earth's population was still celebrating their victory over the Collectors, but other human colonies were nervous about the attention they were receiving. Mars colony is requesting additional defense ships, his security advisor reported. They're worried about retaliation from Volani allies. Give them what they need, Jang replied. But make sure everyone understands that we're not building an empire. We're building a defense network. Fleet Admiral Young-Soo Hwang was overseeing the expansion of humanity's military capabilities. The victory over the Volani had revealed gaps in human defenses that needed to be addressed. We can't be everywhere at once, he told his staff. We need allies who can defend themselves and help defend others. But we also need to make sure we never become what we just defeated. The liberation efforts continued across the galaxy. Each preserve ship presented new challenges. Some species had been so thoroughly modified by the Volani that they couldn't survive outside their artificial environments. Others had forgotten their own languages and cultures. A few had developed Stockholm Syndrome and actually defended their captors. Research director Woo Jin Nam was working on technologies to help the liberated species rebuild their civilizations. It's not enough to free them, he explained to his team. We need to give them the tools to stay free. But not everyone was grateful for human intervention. Some species preferred the safety of their preserve ships to the uncertainty of freedom. Others viewed humanity with suspicion, wondering if the humans would eventually become another set of collectors, Commander. Yoonji Baek encountered this problem firsthand. When her stealth squadron discovered a preserve ship whose inhabitants refused to be rescued. We are safe here, their spokesman said. The protectors provide for all our needs. Why would we want to leave for the dangerous outside universe? It was a question that kept human philosophers awake at night. Did anyone have the right to force freedom on people who didn't want it? The answer came from an unexpected source. Emergency Coordinator Han Il-sung was working with children rescued from the preserve ships. Unlike the adults, the young ones adapted quickly to freedom and were eager to explore the universe beyond their artificial homes. The kids understand what their parents have forgotten, she told Dr. Yoon. Freedom isn't just about safety, it's about the right to choose, even if you choose badly. That's what makes life worth living. As the first year of liberation efforts ended, humanity faced a crucial decision. 47 different species had been freed from Volani preserve ships. Some were thriving in their newfound freedom, others were struggling. A few had asked to be put back in their artificial environments. The Galactic Liberation Accords were signed on Earth, with representatives from all the freed civilizations present. The document established principles that humanity hoped would prevent another Villani situation from developing. But the most important clause was the one that made other galactic powers nervous. Humanity reserved the right to maintain its military fleet at full strength and to intervene against anyone who tried to enslave or collect other species. We learned something important about the universe, Fleet Admiral Huang said at the signing ceremony. There are species out there who see others as resources to be harvested or animals to be caged. As long as those species exist, someone needs to be ready to stop them. Captain Park, now commanding the exploration vessel New Hanbit, was returning to humanity's original mission of peaceful exploration. But this time, his ship carried weapons that could destroy planets and sensors that could detect threats from across star systems. The universe is bigger and more dangerous than we thought, he told his crew as they prepared for their next mission. But it's also more beautiful. Our job is to make sure everyone gets a chance to see that bow